the astrology forecast for April. We're going to be going through some of the main events of April, and then I've brought, which I thought was very on point, the Astara Tarot deck out. I've been using this deck loads over the last week or so now. I've pulled that out to pull some cards, to do some readings for that energy. Frodo, my little dog, that lots of you know, is out. Hi, Nicole. He's just outside the door. He was like, shall I stay in? Shall I go out? And he was like, no, I'm going to go out. So I've let him out, and now I can hear him scratching already, scratching at the door. What the heck? So we'll try and ignore him, but if he gets insistent that he's going to come in, then I will let him in. So just before we start, I want to make sure that I remember to say, oh, hi, Emma, hi, Abriana, hi, Siren, hi, Tanya. Oh, thanks, guys. Thanks for coming to hang out with me. It always makes me feel, I still get really nervous before doing these lives, even though I've been doing them for years now. And it just makes me feel like, oh, you know, it's nicer when you know that there's people who are here. So that is really cool. Yeah, only just started, Siren. We've literally just started. So before we dive into the full thing of the astrology, I printed out some notes and things of stuff I want to share with you. I'm going to remember to let you know that I've made a written blog post for the astrology for April as well. So if you want like a more blow-by-blow account of what is going on, I can hear him sniffing outside the door. It's putting me off. There's like a blow-by-blow account, and there's also a like horoscopes for each of the signs as well, which they're only short, but I think they're good. Like I've been enjoying using them. So yeah, if you want to go and dig into those, then the link should be in the description box, hopefully. So, oh, hi, Megan. Hi, Kate. Oh, Siren, I'm on your live in your living room. That's cool. Oh, thanks, Tanya. Hi, Carol. Oh, it's so nice to see you guys. Yeah, had my hair cut like a few months ago, and I still haven't quite got to grips with how you're supposed to kind of like style these out in like really big flicks, but I just don't have the skills. So this is how it is. But I am getting a little bit better, so that's good. And the other thing I wanted to let you know about as well is that this is going to be the last one of these sort of videos in this format. So I want to, we're still going to do like a setting up for the next month, but I want to do it as journals. I want to do a live journal session. So we'll get together like at the end of the month. Yeah, it's my butterfly cut. We're going to get together at the end of the month to kind of like reflect on the last month and to set up in our journals for the month ahead as well. I'll still do the written astrology forecast, and I'm sure I will still be weaving in like the astrology into that actual journal live as well. But I want to just, yeah, to kind of make it more journaly, really, because this just feels a bit like, yes, I am an astrologer, but also journaling is like the main thing. So let's bring it back with that journaling. Yeah, it does fit with my hat. I had my new hat yesterday. I posted it on Instagram, so some of you have seen it. I bought it off Vinted. Like all of my stuff comes off Vinted now. It's very cool. Frodo is insisting on getting in. 2 seconds. Let me let him in. Come on, Frodes. Coming in then. You're going to come in. Come on. Quick. Okay, he's in. He's in. Hopefully he'll probably just be jumping around on his beanbag now, but hopefully it won't be too distracting. Oh, hi, Emma. Yeah, journal lives. So we'll get together. We can all have our journals. So it'll kind of be like we can all be journaling together, and you know, we still chat like this as well. I don't know quite how I'm going to sort it out as far as like being able to see the chat and journaling and stuff, but I'll figure all that out. He'll be fine. So yeah, Frodo has joined the live. Hi, Lisa. Okay, so let's just take a moment to just congratulate ourselves really on getting through eclipse season. We have got that Sun Venus cazimi which is going on, and I just posted in the Discord just before coming on here as well about how I feel like that affects us quite a lot, especially if you've got like strong Venus in your chart, or if you're if you've got Venus as your ruling planet as I have. It really does. It's almost like a kind of blacking out of self, that sense of self. And so I've been quite anxious today. And so I'm trying to kind of like keep the chill. And it has been a little bit like it's been a lot, hasn't it? It has been a lot this whole month. Like when we looked at the astrology, the total astrology for 2025, March was looking like the most intense month for the year. There's a lot of other stuff going on as well, but March was like the big one. And we are nearly at the end of that now. You know, we're coming to the end of that now. And so, yeah, well done. Well done for making it through the week. Well done for making it almost through the month. And yeah, Emma's saying the sweet blue by for me. And it's so funny like that, isn't it? It's like the ways that we feel this differently, you know, and when things are hitting our charts in different ways, which is why I think having the horoscopes and like why in the moon, guys, I try to make sure that everyone can see where this is coming in for them, because sometimes it's like, oh, everyone seems to be, you know, running around like headless chickens and I'm completely fine, you know, and then vice versa sometimes. So yeah, but yeah, if you have been feeling like, you know, it's been a lot, then I'm with you, and things are going to get better. Things are kind of slow down a little bit in April, even though we have got some like big shifts that are happening, like having Mercury and Venus retrograde, you know, they both can be going direct again in April. Yes, that kind of cusp is of between Pisces and Aries is getting a lot of action. And so wherever that's falling in your house, like the houses, the signs it's in your house, is going to still be very active. But for me, the overall theme, like when I was writing the blog post, I called it like this month of April is much more to do with like consolidation. And so like recalibration, consolidation after we've gone through this like quite intense eclipse portal. I was reading something where somebody was sharing about how like people are always on about the eclipses and how the eclipses last for 6 months. And if they last for 6 months, then how do, you know, like, aren't we always in the eclipse season? And so maybe we should just talk about that a little bit as well. Like when we talk about eclipse season, like what does that even mean? And like generally you feel it when the sun and the moon come within about 18 degrees of the node. So it's more like a kind of like a 4-week period, really. You know, it's like kind of a little bit it eases in before the first eclipse. Then we have this kind of like little bit of weird liminal time between the two eclipses because they always come in pairs, and then we have the second eclipse and then it kind of eases out. So we are in that weird in-between phase at the moment because we have had that first eclipse, the Virgo eclipse, and now we're into that bit of time before we're heading up to the Aries eclipse, which is going to be the last one in the cycle. And I made a whole Aries new moon video, which will be coming out next week as well, which is a journaling video. It's like a journal ritual video, so hopefully you guys will like that. Hey Mimi. Yeah, it is like rounding off stuff from like that has been coming up since 2023. So that will be like a kind of like a ending point eclipse, whereas the Virgo eclipse was kind of like ushering in more of the new the Virgo Pisces eclipse axis, which is where we're going to be having our eclipses when we get to the next eclipse season as well. So it's like a kind of overlap time that we're in at the moment. So yeah, it is a little bit of like a kind of liminal space, I suppose, when we're in that little pocket between the two eclipses. But then yes, at the end of the month we have that eclipse on the 29th for me of March, and then we're into April basically, and we're into a different feel. Yeah, so I've got a summary of the key themes. Oh, hang on, I'm going to just take a little sip while I read the comments. Okay. Yeah, so Abriana's asking, can you explain the difference, if there is one, between our chart ruler and the ruler of our sun sign? That's a really good question, because people do get a little bit confused, especially if they don't, like, there are quite a few people who have just taken my like in-depth astrology beginner course. So you guys know a lot of this stuff already. The ruler of our chart is the ruler of our ascendant, the planet that rules our ascendant. So like if your ascendant is in Scorpio, Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio. So Mars is the ruler of your chart. And I tend to use the traditional rulerships. You know, like in modern astrology, you might say if you're the Scorpio rising, you'd say that Pluto is the ruler of your chart. You can say that if you want to. There's just like nuance between how different astrologers approach it. And I tend to take a more traditional approach to that. Or say if you were a Leo rising, then the sun is your ruling planet. It's the ruling planet of your chart. And then we also have planetary rulers of all of our placements. So wherever the other planets fall in our chart, we also have rulers for all of those as well. So like for me, my Venus is in Cancer. So the moon rules my Venus. And, you know, you can kind of go back like that as well. Or like my sun is in Gemini, so Mercury rules my sun. So Venus is my chart ruler because Venus rules my ascendant. I'm a Libra ascendant, but then Mercury rules my sun. And then sometimes you get, yeah, I know it's you, Michelle. I just didn't know whether to out you because I know you like to use Abriana on on YouTube. But yes, there is a difference. And like if people are only looking at their sun sign astrology, which lots of people do, you know, that's the way in for a lot of people, is just looking at their sun, then maybe you would just be looking at that, because the ruler of your sun, the planet that rules your sun, is still going to be a very pivotal planet for you. It's going to be a very important planet for you because it's going to have a lot of work to do, the planet that's ruling your sun. You know, the planets that rule your sun, your moon, your rising are like big deal for you. And for some of us, that might be the same planet, or maybe like one planet rules two and one rules another one, or sometimes all three are ruled by different things, you know. So try and work it out. Let me know like which ones are your rulers. But yeah, for me as a Libra rising, Venus rules my chart. If you have Taurus rising as well, then Venus also rules your chart. So we are maybe more affected by this Sun Venus conjunction cazimi that is happening at the moment. Yeah, so Michelle's saying that Venus rules my sun and moon. Yeah, so perhaps why this eclipse really wiped me out. I don't think it's so much the eclipse. I like the next one is going to be worse, like the Aries one, because that's going to be like opposite your sun and moon. But it's the it's that sun moon conjunction, because the sun Venus conjunction, because when Venus, all of the planets, as the sun's going around, like the sun takes a year to go around the chart. And so as it goes around, it makes contact with all of the other planets. And like the moon also does that, like the moon goes all the way around in like a month, doesn't it? Less than a month around the chart. And so it will be making contact with all of your planets, all of the planets as it goes around. When the sun takes like a year to do that. So over the course of the year, it will make contact with the other planets, roughly. And when it does, it almost like swallows them up and rebirths them. So when we have a Venus cazimi, as we've just been having, and we also like we've got a Mercury one as well, the sun like swallows up Venus and Venus disappears. And I think when that happens to your ruler, it's a bit like, you know, or like you say, if it's ruling like important planets in your chart, it's a bit like my kind of core sense of who I am has kind of disappeared. I've lost my footing a little bit. And then as it comes back out again, gets reborn again, that planet gets reborn again, it's actually a really beautiful reset and renewal that happens. But you know, like how it doesn't feel like that when we're going through that process. We can't always recognize that as we're going through that process. Yeah. So Siren's saying Scorpio sun and moon, so Mars rules my chart. Yes. No, okay. So Scorpio sun and moon. So Mars rules your sun and moon, Siren, but as Gemini rising, Mercury rules your chart. Yes. So Mercury is your chart ruler because you're Gemini rising, but then Mars is also very important to you because it's ruling your sun and your moon. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, Megan saying my sun sign is ruled by Venus and this week has been a lot of stressful days. Yeah, I think it's just that like Venus does tend to give us a bit of softness as well. So for all of us, you know, when Venus is like kind of like obliterated from the sky, it can just feel disconcerting. You know, it's like, where's the sweetness gone? You know, where's the soothing gone? So, and especially like because we'll be having that new moon eclipse as well. So the moon, which is another planet which tends to give us comfort, which gives us soothing, is also getting dark at the moment as well, you know. So yeah, you know, it can feel quite intense. Yeah. Going down a rabbit hole. It's always fun though, isn't it, to go down these rabbit holes? It's really good fun. So I've identified some key themes for April, which are the main shifts really from what is happening. And one of them is kind of not a shift, it's like actually a continuation of some of the stuff that is going on. Yeah, yes, Venus, yes, Siren, if Venus is your time lord. So what happens, let me take my cardigan off, I'm getting a bit hot and bothered. So when you've got a chart ruler, which is your chart ruler for the whole of your life. So for you, Siren, as a Gemini rising, Mercury is your chart ruler for the whole of your life. It is that planet that is your kind of like guiding planet for your whole life. And then when we look at Time Lords. I've got a video on that somewhere on my channel as well, and I've also written an article about that as well. But it's a Hellenistic and ancient kind of astrology technique from ancient Greek astrology, where you have a ruling planet for the year as well, and that moves around your chart. So when you have your Time Lord planet, that planet steps into kind of like being a co-pilot role and becomes much more important for that year that it is your, like they call it the Lord of the year. So yes, if Venus is your Time Lord or your Lord of the year, then it will definitely be more impactful than it usually is in your chart, you know. And then obviously sometimes you get your ruling planet is the same planet as your Time Lord. It's almost like double underlining that in that case then. Okay, so if that's kind of like, whoa, that's a lot, don't panic. I mean, we are kind of getting into more kind of advanced like astrology stuff there now, which I know lots of you guys, like especially the ones who've been taking the course, you know this stuff now. But you don't need to know all of this in order to be able to, like, the reason for me for knowing astrology, for working with the astrology, is so that I can be better placed to flow with the energy that is going on. So I'm not like battling against the tides. And like, yes, it helps me know myself when I know my natal chart, to be able to kind of see what my strengths are, what are the things that are more challenging in my chart, and be able to chart my course from it, use it as a map, you know, that I can live my life from and towards as well, because your chart does reveal your potential, what it is that you're here to do and what you're working towards. But then we can also use the mundane astrology, which is like the transit astrology, the astrology that we see people talking about here, you know, sort of saying, this is what's happening now, this is what's happening now in the sky kind of thing. That impacts on our own charts as well then, you know. So it's like bringing those things together can seem kind of complicated, but that is the reason why lots of astrologers make things like the horoscopes that I've made for you, like making videos, you know, about different parts of what is going on in the sky, so you don't have to have like a big deep knowledge of all of this stuff to be able to use it. So that is what I want to give to you today now in this video, is the main things that are coming up, so you can kind of integrate those. And I know like lots of you here are already, oh hi Rebecca, if you are already subscribed to Moonday Magic Mail, that's an email that I send out every Monday morning where I break down just the astrology for the week. And I think it's like bite-sized astrology, you know. It's like, this is the astrology for this week, this is what, like, how you can work with it. I include some journal prompts in there as well. There's a message from Goddess in there as well. So it's like, it just like, to me, it can be quite overwhelming in the world sometimes, like with all of the stuff. It's like, I feel like I should know this and I need to have a handle on this. So that's why I created that, really, is to simplify it and make it like bite-sized. So it's still in depth, but because it's like a trickle rather than like drinking from a fire hose kind of thing. That is the idea behind that. Okay, so shall we have a look at these key themes for April? So the first one is that Venus and Mercury, who have both been retrograde and in the same place, so they've been going like back and forth between Pisces and Aries. So they've been like going from Pisces into Aries and then back into Pisces, and now they will be going back into Aries at different times, but they will be wrapping up their retrogrades in April. So yeah, April begins with Venus retrograde in Pisces conjunct the North Node on the 1st. So that's going to be like quite another like rebirth point for Venus as well. Venus is very active, and Mercury also very active. And then yeah, Mercury is going to be doing the same on the 4th. So Venus is that planet of love, of communication, of relationships. Mercury is the planet of like communication, of healing, of connections as well. Like Venus is more about those kind of like felt connections, of like attracting connections, whereas Mercury is more about like connecting the dots. You know, that's what communication is essentially, isn't it? It's when we communicate, we speak and somebody else receives. You know, there's like it's a two-way thing, isn't it? Otherwise communication doesn't exist, does it? You know, it needs to have like a speaker and a receiver, and then, you know, ideally it goes back and forth between those things. So when we have like that double retrograde happening, especially in that same place, is that we've had those things about like our relationships and our communication have become kind of intertwined, and perhaps we are having to like backtrack a little bit in those areas of our life and kind of refocus our communication in our relationships, especially in our kind of close relationships, depending on where it is in your chart. Like, you know, if this is happening like in your 10th and 11th houses, then it's probably more to do with like your communication and relationship with your work colleagues and that kind of environment, you know. So that's why knowing where and why the horoscopes are helpful. But in general, it is like our communication and our connection are having like a, it's like, oh, I think I'm making progress with this. Now I need to dial it back a little bit, and now I need to go forward again. And they're going forward again into Aries, which is that beginning sign of the zodiac. So it's like the wrapping up of a cycle and then the start of a new cycle. And the fact that those planets have been going back and forth over that cusp, which a lot of planets are going to be going over that cusp in this year, is like very highlighted. It's underlining that energy, which we can all feel, that we are in this strange moment now. Like, I called this year a threshold year because it does really much feel like that. Is a year of endings and beginnings. And it's not like it's like a straightforward ending, cut-off point. It's like we're hanging around in that threshold. And like that is what we're getting like with these retrogrades now. They're like going forward, they're going backwards, they're going forward. It's like, am I going into this? No, hang on, I'm going back. Now I'm going forward. It's not like, it's not straightforward. It's literally and metaphorically not straightforward. And so, yes, we need to be rethinking perhaps our communication. We also need to be rethinking perhaps how we operate in relationships, and also how those things kind of come together and blend together. So that is one of the things that we've been working on in March. And now as we go into April, when the planets start to go direct again, that is when we start to make that more forward momentum movement now. So if things have been a little bit sticky in relationships or with communication, like, you know, usually when there's poor communication, that does have an impact on our relationships, doesn't it? And vice versa. So if those things have been a little bit tough over this month, as we go into April and the planets go direct, and especially as they start to clear their shadow periods, we will get more clarity, and actually it won't feel like sort of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of thing. It will be like, okay, I'm making steps forward now. And as they enter Aries, sometimes it can feel like, whoosh, we're making quick steps forward now, you know, because Aries is that cardinal fire sign. So it's like, boom, you know, sometimes we're getting right into it. So it can be kind of nice that we've got like a little bit of a run up almost, you know. It's like, we've been a bit tentative, but then we're going to be diving into it. Does that make sense? And then, yes, we've got, well, it's kind of the same sort of thing again. We've got Mercury stationing direct and Venus direct. So Mercury goes direct on the 7th of April and Venus goes direct on the 13th of April. So that is when they're going to be ending their retrogrades. They do then have to go back through the area that they've been retrograding through, which is called the shadow period. So it does take a little while to clear that period. But yes, in general, we are bringing those themes of like relationship, communication to a culmination now as we go forward. Mars. Okay, so we talked a lot about Mars last year. There's been a lot of interaction between Mars and Pluto. You know, that's what we talk about, like that Mars-Pluto opposition, things like that. Well, we've got a kind of rekindling of that now in April, because we've got Mars is still in Cancer. So Mars was having that retrograde that felt like it went on for years. That went over into the start of this year, and it is still hanging around in that space. I think it's not until June that it's actually like fully clearing out that space of the retrograde. So when that happens, we are kind of, it's almost like we want to move forward, but we don't have the momentum. Like when Mars is retrograde, we just don't have the momentum. And still, even when Mars is clearing its shadow, we are still kind of like building back into that sense of momentum. So it can still feel, and like, remember, Mars is ruling all of the stuff that's going on in Aries as well, because Mars rules Aries. So it's kind of bringing us the same story again, you know, in that we are wanting to move forward, but we haven't quite got what we need yet to do that. And as April progresses, we will kind of work out a little bit more what we need. We won't get like it's not like full steam ahead. That is not what April's about. April is much more, like I say, about like consolidation and kind of recalibration after we have gone through that eclipse portal. But it should start to become more clear now, and the way forward should start to kind of crystallize a little bit more. On the 5th of April, we've got Cancer sextiling Uranus in Taurus. So we have got that idea of like potential breakthroughs. and some action potentially as well. And then on the 11th we got Mars in Cancer trining the North Node in Pisces, and that one looks lovely. I think that April 11th, that will probably feel like an aha moment. You know, it's like, this is what we need, this is how we're going to kind of go through this this kind of difficult period. This whole year is like I said, is very much like that. It's not like we're not hitting the ground running. We are in the labor, I suppose, you know. It's like, are we coming, are we not, kind of thing, you know. And by the end of the year we will have a lot more clarity, but it's like it's gradually phasing in as we go through the year. Okay, what else? Yeah, and then April, on the 18th of April, that is when Mars is going to go into Leo. So it's been retrograde. It went into Leo. It went through Cancer into Leo. It retrograded back out of Leo into Cancer, and now it's been like going back through Cancer. And then on the 18th of April, it's going to re-enter Leo. So it's cleared that kind of Cancer part, which, to be honest, I'm looking forward to that, because Mars in Cancer can be tricky. You know, we talked about that a lot last year as well. So once Mars is in Leo, like we've got Mars, which is a fiery planet, and then it's going into Leo, which is a fiery sign as well, you know. So we've got like a bit more momentum, maybe also like maybe a bit too much. So just be aware of that as well, you know, like we don't want to kind of go in all guns blazing, because this is not an all guns blazing kind of month, you know. We do need to be like a little bit sensible about it, I suppose. I'm just going to have a little look at it. People saying Mars is why I feel stuck. It could be, especially if like Mars is an important planet for you. Yeah. Oh yeah, the ads. I tried to have a look at that, and it just looks like YouTube is just adding them now, and I don't see how that you can not have them. I think they're just really trying to push the what's it called, like the paid membership for YouTube, so that you don't get ads. And so they're just making it like that you will be served them regardless. Rebecca saying, I feel stuck, like I'm tied to the railroad tracks. Wow, that is a really powerful image. That idea of being like tied to the tracks, and it's like waiting for the train to come. Like, I hope that, I think now we're through eclipse season, hopefully it shouldn't feel quite as life or death as that, you know. When we can work with Mars, when we feel like we've got a handle on Mars a little bit more, we can take more of our own initiative, you know. And in eclipse season, it can feel a little bit like our initiative is taken away from us. It feels a little bit more fated sometimes in eclipse season. But yes, it's moving forward, but let's not get carried away as well. We don't want to have like that train running away down the tracks either, do we? You know, we want to be able to make momentum in a controlled way, because sometimes when we get Mars in Leo, it can be a little bit uncontrolled as well. Speaking as someone who has natal Mars in Leo. Yeah. So right, so Mars in Leo to look up. So yeah, that's happening on the 18th, Mars in Leo. And then on the 27th, so as we get to the end of the month, we've got Mars in Leo picking up that Pluto connection again. So at the end of the month on the 27th, we've got that Mars-Pluto opposition again. So we've got Leo opposite Aquarius. And so it's like that next hit of that Mars-Leo that we had like November, December 2024. So there's a potential for, I'm going to sneeze, sorry. Oh my gosh, excuse me. There's potential for themes, you know, quite often, especially with Pluto, like Pluto is all very much about resurfacing things. There will be that some resurfacing of some things, which is great, you know, because we want to be able to wrap up that cycle and kind of like work on that stuff. Mimi says, note to self, no full steam ahead. It's not so much this, no, like, it's like, just don't let yourself get completely, like, you need to make sure you've also got breaks available to you, you know, in case you need to course correct, because otherwise it can be very hard to change direction then, can't it? Yeah. Becca says, my Mars is in Aquarius, so I think combined with Pluto moving into Aquarius has been rough. Plus Leo rising. Oh my gosh, yes. So that is a tricky transit, isn't it? Because that's like affecting your first and your seventh house, picking up all of those first house personal stuff, and then picking up all those seventh house relationship stuff. It's like a stirring up of both of those areas, and like a surfacing with that Pluto You know, it's like stuff that's been buried for a long time is coming up and we need to deal with it. You know, like Mars doesn't want to let things lie. Mars wants to, like, it's like, oh, there's something that's something's festering there. Mars is like, dig that out, you know. Mars likes to cut things out, to remove things. It likes to get to the bottom of things. It doesn't want to just kind of like, it is not about sweeping things under the rug. So, and like, now that we've got Mercury and Venus direct, that's going to make it much easier to be able to approach these things in our relationships as well, isn't it? And with our communication with other people. Yeah. Yeah, Michelle's saying it sounds like intention and choice is the difference there, not letting Mars steam ahead unchecked. Yes, yes, exactly. It is about our intention and our holding our own lines, you know, holding our own kind of boundaries, our own lines around those things, our own sense of self, and not letting ourselves get run over. Like that idea of like a train running us over. We have more agency than that. We don't let that happen. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rebecca, the relationships have been, yeah. Tanya says that explains a lot with Mars ruling my ascendant sun. Tanya, I've sent you your 50th birthday year ahead reading today. So I don't know if you've had that email yet. Hopefully it's come through to you, but I've sent that. I've sent that to you, and hopefully that's going to give you a lot of things to think about with that, with the Mars stuff that is going on. I didn't actually even look at the Mars transits because I felt like there was so much other stuff to talk about. So yeah, Nicole, exactly. Hugs for Rebecca. That is, it's hard. It is hard dealing with this stuff, especially when things have kind of gone unsaid or like attended to for long periods of time, which can happen with Pluto stuff, you know. And then it's like, hang on, now all of this stuff is gonna come out, and we're gonna deal with it. Yeah, but we will have that, and as we go through this year, we will be figuring this stuff out, you know, as we move forward, because, you know, we are moving forward. We're here, we're moving forward. Yeah. Oh, Tanya, I haven't checked your email yet. Well, you can go and do it now if you want to, or you can stay till the end and then watch it after. Or you might want to save it for your birthday. I thought maybe you might want it for your birthday. Yeah, it's not quite Tanya's birthday yet, but it is soon. Sorry, Tanya, to like, happy birthday, Tanya. Very exciting birthday. Okay, so the good news. Let's have some good news. We are going to be entering Taurus season. Like, you might not feel like this is good news. I love Taurus season. Like, it's just so delicious. You know, it's that time in the northern hemisphere when you can plant seeds in the ground outside and they will take hold. You know, Taurus is that fixed earth energy, is so stable. It is so just like, I've got you, you know, so divine feminine. Just thinking like that empress energy. It's like, I can hold you, whatever you've got, you know, like if you've got any problems, just come out and just lay on the earth and just let them come into me, because I can take those and I can carry those, and you can be held and comforted and free of that stuff. And I think we really need, like, ideally, it would be nice to have like a 6-month Taurus season this year, but we don't get that. We just get the usual like 4 weeks. But I'm so here for it this year, especially, you know. And if you have been having Venus troubles, like it sounds like lots of us have been encountering, we will be having that period of time where Venus is the queen, you know. And it is a little bit stranger because we have got like Venus exalted in Pisces, but then also Venus in Aries, where she's not so happy. And so there's some different energies of that Venus coming through. Like, it gives us the opportunity for us to be dreamy and sensual, but also to be like that kind of warrior Athena kind of energy as well, like standing our ground. Like when we think of the Empress, quite often, like when we see her in tarot, it is very much like kind of like laid back, isn't it? She's like, I just sit here and all of the things come to me. But then when we think of the Emperor, which is Aries, that is very much like he's still sitting, but he's sitting kind of primed, ready, armed, you know, waiting for action. He's ready for action. He's going to direct it, you know. And when we have Venus in Aries, because Venus she went into Aries, she retrograded back into Pisces. She will be going back into Aries, not quite until like very late in, I think maybe even into May. But that will be happening. So we will be able to channel some more of that kind of like Athena energy. Oh my gosh, the chat just went crazy. Tanya's saying, thank you all. It's not until the 1st. Yes. Rebecca said, maybe I should start dating my Taurus guy. Oh, it depends what you want. Like some people find Taurus guys boring. But sometimes they're just the nice, stable, yeah, what you need sometimes. So yeah. Emma says, this conversation had me drag up a birth chart my friend did for me, only it's kind of hard to read, so I did the astro chart one on the Ritual Planner website. Oh, cool. That's cool, Emma. So you're having a look at it in the Discord as well. Although to be honest, Shannon is pretty much the only one who can like tame the bot. We have got an astro bot that will generate charts in the Discord as well, and you can do things like bring up your chart alongside the chart for like a specific date and stuff like that, so you can see how things are overlapping, which is really, really cool. But yeah, it's not that easy. I think it should be easy, but like I don't know how to do it. But Shannon can do it. She's great with it. Michelle says hi. Yeah. Happy birthday, Tanya. Yeah, the empowerment. Yes. I don't think you need to change your birthday though, Tanya. Like I think it's a nice birthday. I think you can like the stuff that is coming up in your chart. It's fun. Yeah. So that's kind of like a heading into May as well, you know, that Venus Aries in May. But yeah, I've kind of got that in the back of my mind still, that there is still that I need to still keep that more empress, you know, that like armed and ready empress, as well as my Taurus. And like what can happen as well, especially if you've got like my moon's in Taurus, and so I'm like, oh, I'm just comforting into this Taurus season, eating all the food. Like just be aware of that, you know, it can be easy to like overindulge ourselves sometimes in Taurus season as well, depending on our own personal like situations. So yeah. Rebecca couldn't get on Discord, that's annoying. There should be a link to it in the description, but if it doesn't work, like I don't really understand how Discord, like they keep generating new links all the time, but if it doesn't work properly, then maybe somebody could drop a link for you in the chat here, because it's lovely. It's a really cool space and it's good. Yeah, it's a good space to hang out. Okay, so that's like a lot of the stuff that is going on. What else do I want to tell you about Taurus season? So on the night, if that happens on April 19th, that's when the sun is moving into Taurus. So we've got like a freshly rebirthed Venus, like virtually a few weeks old, bringing that just, yeah, like that lovely, yummy Taurus energy. And it does definitely bring like, it brings a more stabilizing, a more like, it just is very earthy, very grounded, you know, as we come into that Taurus season. And then at the end of the month, when we have on the 27th, we've got the Taurus new moon. So it's like, oh, this lovely new moon that isn't part of the eclipses. It's just like a whole thing on its own, and that's lovely. And I'll make a journal ritual video for that nearer to the time as well. So yeah, lots of things to look forward to. We do have that sun square in Pluto though on the 23rd. I put into that bit here as well. Like, you know how like sometimes we can try and like do comfort behaviors to move ourselves, like to kind of fool ourselves that we like haven't got problems, you know, like what's it like, kind of like avoiding things, you know, like by doing the comfort sort of stuff. Oh, hi Moon. I will answer that question in a second, but yeah, just to kind of try and finish this point, otherwise my ADHD will forget about it. We've got that invitation with Pluto there to not let ourselves like use comfort as a distraction, but to be able to luxuriate in comfort and also attend to our shit, you know. It's not like, yeah, I think I've said it quite a few times actually in this thing. So I think that is like one of those themes that is coming up for April, is that we can enjoy like especially like physically feel more grounded, be consolidating, all that kind of stuff, but we can't truly enjoy that, we can't truly kind of like soften into that unless we do deal with some of the shit that needs to be dealt with, you know. Yeah. Nicole's excited to see what the journal rituals are. The first one is coming out. I already made the video, but it is coming out next weekend. So I'm trying to like do a video every weekend for you guys now. So yeah, I hope that you do like it, Nicole. Okay, let's talk about that Venus on your MC. I know there are people here who have been taking my astrology course, so they will know this sort of stuff already and may even have some ideas, some suggestions to give for you as well. But our MC is that part of our chart, like that midheaven part of our chart, is usually somewhere in our chart that shows us like what our kind of like highest status or role. And like I don't necessarily mean that in a job sense. It can sometimes mean in a job sense. It depends on the chart, but it's kind of like our fullest potential of self, you know, like our highest expression of self, our MC. And then when we have Venus conjunct our MC, it can have it you know, it plays out in a few different ways. Sometimes in our earlier life, it can sometimes show us like we can get a bit lazy because people tend to, like when we have Venus on the MCR, Venus comes through quite strongly and people will give us opportunities because we're beautiful usually, you know, it's like, oh, you know, they see that, they're like, oh, let me help you with this, let me do this. And so you can kind of get a little bit lazy. But as we like grow into our Venus on our MC, and I'm speaking as somebody who has Venus close to my MC, that you have to learn to like find the depth in that Venus, because you know, like how sometimes people talk about Venus as being kind of superficial. The Greek myths paint her out like this a lot, you know, like kind of vain. She's always there with a like mirror, you know, it's like, oh, look at me, I'm so beautiful, things just come to me. And that's a patriarchal kind of like shadowy view of Venus, really, because Venus is so much more powerful than that. Venus has got this just huge depth of creative energy and of attractive energy. And when we have that, like when we have a mature Venus on the MC, we are like, oh, just like queen manifestors and can really bring that forward, but not in a way that is like, because it's Venus, you know, Venus values relationship, she values reciprocity. So it's like, I win when everybody wins, that kind of thing. Yeah. Oh yeah, Emma, Aphrodite, yeah. It's like, I find Venus and Aphrodite almost exactly synonymous. You know, like some of the goddesses, you'll say, oh, that's like, you know, it's almost like that's the Norse version of that. And sometimes they are, and sometimes they're not. But with Venus and Aphrodite, I very much find them like that. Yeah. Oh, that's funny, Moon. That's very similar to me. My son's in Gemini as well. Yeah. But yeah, mine's a 9th house. You've got Venus in Gemini, so that's a more kind of like chatty and maybe not chatty, like a Venus that has beautiful communication as well. Yeah. Rebecca's got an MC in Taurus, but Venus is in Sagittarius, so that's fine. We were just talking about that particular example of having Venus conjunct your MC. You know, like they will, like Siren said, I haven't got anything conjunct my MC. And that's fine. You know, lots of us don't have things like, especially not exactly conjunct our MC. But if you do, then that can be how it can play out. If you don't have anything conjunct your MC, then what I would do is look at the house and sign that your MC is in. Like it can be like the 9th, 10th or 11th houses, sometimes even further across than that actually, but generally in the 9th, 10th and 11th houses, and see who is ruling that, and then go to that planet and see what is going on with that. But yeah, when you get, my son has got Venus exactly conjunct his ascendant. And so like that's another like strong Venus placement, and he's also Libra rising. So it's like his ruling planet is exactly conjunct his ascendant. And like, I mean, I'm biased, but I think he's beautiful, and people do, they're like, oh, he's so lovely, you know? And so he gets away with a lot of stuff because of that. But there's something that's, you know, like we have to grow into sometimes. Rebecca saying, does it matter that Venus rules Taurus? Yeah, so yeah, Venus does rule your MC, Rebecca. So you might find some resonance with what I shared about having Venus at your MC, but when your Venus is in Sagittarius, you're going to be bringing more of those like kind of Sagittarius kind of questing, spiritual expansion kind of themes into it. Carol saying, I've got no planets on my MC. The closest one to it is Neptune, but it's a whole house away. Yeah, yeah. Mars and Venus in Sag in the 7th. Interesting. Mars and Venus together, especially in the 7th. That's an interesting placement for them both. Like when we have Mars and Venus in that 7th house of relationships together, like that's kind of like a spicy place for them to be, you know, and usually it means that we have got like some opposition and sometimes you know, creation in that space, but it depends on how they play out sometimes. Yeah. Rebecca says makes perfect sense to me because North Node is Pisces. Yeah, okay, so you've got Jupiter ruling that North Node as well. Yeah, yeah, so there's got that kind of spiritual expansion. That is your path, you know, that spiritual expansive path. So yeah, interesting to have. It's important for you though to also have that earthy direction, like to stay grounded, even though you want to be like expanding into that spiritual realm for sure. Yeah. It's completely cold now, that tea. Shall we have a look? Let's pull some cards. So I've got the Astara Tarot out because we are at that time. Sorry, I'm sitting in front of a window, so the light is shining on these a little bit. But this is a deck that was created by 4 different artists. So some people don't like that because the art styles are quite different. But I actually really like that combination. Yeah. Working on grounding. Yeah, it's sometimes like, it's not the most glamorous, is it, grounding, but it's something that is really, really necessary. Especially like, you know, like we live in a society that is very like heady now, doesn't it? Like it's very much prioritizes our like intellect and our kind of outward achievements rather than being like embodied and connected to the earth. So it's quite radical to like embrace that grounding. I had a chat with Imogen yesterday from Sapling Tarot. I don't know if any of you watch her channel. She's got a really nice channel here on YouTube called Sapling Tarot, and they've been doing this series on tarot and neurodivergence, and so she's been like interviewing people, like getting their kind of take on how their neurodivergence and tarot kind of interplays with each other. So I'm not sure when that will be available, but we were talking then about how grounding is something that is so valuable, but like a lot of us don't realize we need it until we've like almost like floated away into the sky. Like I wish it was a skill that was taught to us as, you know, as young children, because like babies kind of naturally tend to do it, but then as soon as we kind of get sucked into the world at large, we can lose that anchor. So yeah, anyway, let's shuffle. I'm going to take 3 cards today, cards for the energy of April for us. Emma says I'll have to watch it when it's out. I need to find my birth chart so I can get a proper ascendant. Oh, okay. The doctor was leaving for the day and I interrupted him. Yeah, it was a good chat. Like we talked for like 2 hours. And then we were like, right, we should probably, I'm sure she won't put it out. Like I don't expect she will put a whole 2-hour chat out. I expect it will be shorter than that. Like she'll edit it down. But, and like, we didn't really talk that much about tarot. It was mostly about like how being kind of witchy, I suppose, and how that can kind of interplay with neurodivergence. So that's kind of the crux of it. So I think maybe we went a little bit off piste of what it was supposed to be about, but hopefully it will still be like interesting for people to watch. She's so interesting to listen to, Imogen, as well. She's so clever, and I really appreciate like the points that she makes about things. She thinks really deeply about things, and I love that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Me and Michelle were talking about this as well, that idea of like people want the advanced stuff. It's like, give me the advanced stuff. And a lot of the time the advanced stuff is just the basic stuff done more deeply, which people don't want to hear that, you know, but it is, yeah, that's a lot of what it is. Yeah, Tanya's saying a new channel to watch. Yeah, if you haven't, like she's got, I don't know how many subscribers she's got, but quite a few people watch her because she does have some really interesting takes on things and like on tarot and stuff like that. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, give me a thumbs up. Okay, 3 cards for April. Let's go. Interesting. Okay, so this is what we've got. We have the 2 of Swords. which I find this card in this deck so interesting. That quite often the Two of Swords is kind of like a crossroads, or like a choice, you know, that needs to be made. But in this instance, rather than it being like a kind of blindfolded person with these two swords, we've got this bird, maybe like a blue cardinal, I'm not sure, sat on a nest. And that's what I think is so interesting, that inclusion of the nest in between there. It's like when we've made our home in the indecision. When this card comes out, you know, it's like we've made our home here. We are not choosing a path either way. We're not committing, we're staying, we're making a home in the indecision. It's like, oh, I don't know. And that is really like on point for that Mercury Venus retrograde and now going direct into April. We need to choose now. You know, we can't stay, we have been in this state of indecision of like, but we can't make our home there. We need to be able to go forward. We can't be stuck, can we, like that? Like we're just like kind of trapped in that space of indecision. Really interesting as well how we've got this crescent moon coming in here on the card too. You know, so maybe by the time we get to the crescent moon, so we've got we've got the eclipse happening like at the end of this month of March, and then we're going to be having that crescent moon coming in early in April. So by the time of the crescent moon, make a damn choice. Decide and like start taking some tentative steps forward, because you know that's how we learn, basically. You know, if we don't, like, the thing, we try and protect ourselves from making mistakes, don't we? It's like, if I don't choose, then I won't get it wrong. But we also then aren't living our lives. We're kind of living a half life. You know, look at that bird with the blindfold, you know, it's like, it's just standing there lonely, doesn't know what to do, and isn't living, isn't fully engaged in life. And so we need to make a choice in order to move forward with that. And then the second card is saying very similar, but in a slightly nuanced way. We've got this Four of Cups. And like quite often the Four of Cups is shown as being like somebody like not seeing the opportunities that are presented to them, especially like that was air. We were talking swords with air with the first one, and now we're talking cups, we're talking our emotional. So perhaps this is our Mercury retrograde that is coming to an end, and perhaps this is our Venus retrograde that is coming to an end, that more emotional, that feeling sense of it as well, you know. There's like that little rabbit, it's like, and she's also a rabbit. There's so many layers in these cards. It is so interesting, you know. It, like, to me, it's almost as if she is choosing again, you know, like she's got her eyes closed, she's got this mask on, she's like blindfolded. It's like a sense of self-preservation, a sense of protection. But again, what happens when we try to protect our feelings, when we try to kind of keep ourselves and our like inner child? I always see that little rabbit there as being her like inner child. It's like, oh, I'm keeping that inner child safe, I'm keeping myself safe. And what actually happens is we end up like not engaging, you know, we're not doing that Venus direct stuff. We aren't able to see the opportunities that are being offered to us, or the magic that is all around us, because we're kind of tucked away. I always find, like, especially whenever the ginger characters come out in this card as well, I always feel like especially called out. It's like, they're trying to show me here. Kate saying validating, picked a crescent moon for my logo this morning. That was a good choice made. Ooh, your logo for what, Kate? Let us know more about that. That is cool. Making a choice. Well done, Kate. Yeah, so I'm seeing that as being the end of the Mercury retrograde and the Venus retrograde, which is happening in April, and that we need to then realize this retrograde is over now. In order for me to move forward, I do need to choose. I do need to not try and hide myself, protect myself. I need to engage. So we need to choose and we need to engage. Rebecca says not choosing is making a choice. I suppose if we're saying, right, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this instead. You know, what I mean is like staying in the indecision as a means of like postponing. It's like, you know that you're going to have to choose at some point, but you're postponing it. If you're just saying, I'm not going to make a decision on that, and now I'm going to like, that's not part of my life anymore, that's different. But yeah, I think it is we can like try and pretend to ourselves about things like that. So just be careful that we're not like, you're not kind of, yeah, trying to kind of like pull the wool over your own eyes, because with all that Mars stuff as well, it's like Mars is going to want to get to the bottom of that stuff. Yeah. Mimi's still feeling called out even though she hasn't got red hair. Yeah, it's just so like, yeah, it's just like, I will not speak to you, we're here, you know. It's, yeah, it's such a great image on that card, so interesting. And then also I think like that tension between like our adult self and child self, I think is coming out with that card as well. So like where our child self still feels hurt, like maybe there is some comfort, some soothing that needs to happen before our adult self is able to interact in the full way that we want to be able to do as adults. Yeah. Rebecca says, I think it's often avoidance. Yeah, I mean, it is, isn't it? It's like, oh. Okay, Kate, is creating a business to support people, coaches, professionals to be more trauma informed is my aim, but still needs to be further clarified. Oh, Kate, yes. I love that. Yes, this is going to be so valuable. Thank you. I'm so glad that you're doing that. Yeah, look at all the celebration. Do you want to see our last card? I mean, this is very on point for you as well then, Kate, because our last card is this Ace of Wands. That fiery ace. Really interesting that all these cards are really low cards. You know, we were talking about that idea of like being in that beginnings, like we're in the endings and beginnings, and like we are in the beginnings, but it's those like tentative new beginnings. We don't know the fullness of what is going to come yet, and yet we still need to be brave enough to take the path and see what is going to unfold for us. So wow, you know, when we get that ace of wands, it is this kind of like creative, fiery, spiritual impetus. And I'm seeing that as that Mars entering Leo, especially, you know, it's like, right, I've got this now. I'm going to make it forward. The only thing is with this ace, I sometimes, like with this specific depiction of the Ace of Wands, I sometimes feel a little bit like there's a sense of like almost trying to escape from the fire, like trying to kind of like preserve, because there's like this branch that is not on fire that the hand is kind of like holding up from the fire to try and like save the new life out of the fire as things are being kind of like burnt down and started again. And like that's been a lot of what it's felt like over these last few years, really since 2020. You know, there's been a lot of like burning down and starting things again. And so it's given us the opportunity to, what is it that we want to salvage now? What is the new life, the living branch that is coming out of everything that is being kind of like cast aside and torn down in that like Mars Pluto stuff that has been ongoing for a while now, you know? Stuff has to be let go, and then there are going to be beautiful things. There's going to be beautiful fresh life that is going to come forward as we go into this month and into the rest of this year. Carol says, I've been very much in indecision about continuing to foster Bella, especially since my Winnie girl is really struggling. Oh, Carol, I thought that they were starting to get on better. I'm sorry that has been, they're still not. That is so tricky. Oh, Kate, using the astrological magic of the timing of the start of the business. Love that. Yes. Powerful. Yeah, and Kate is an eclipse. Like normally I would recommend not starting new things in eclipse season, but Kate is an eclipse person. She has the eclipses like coded into her chart. So eclipse seasons are very monumental seasons for Kate, you know, so they're good times for starting that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, what is the stuff that needs to be burnt to the ground now, or has been burnt to the ground? Like perhaps some stuff you didn't intend to burn to the ground, but it has, and now it's time to let that go. And then what is the stuff that we are holding aloft, the thing that we're going to lead into this new stage, the new things that are coming now? What is that going to be? Yeah. So that is our 3 cards. We've got to make a decision, make a choice. Don't make our home in indecision. Do some kind of TLC for our inner child and, you know, and for ourselves, but make our decisions from an adult space, from our adult headspace, rather than from the wounded child headspace, because that's the way that we're going to be able to have interactions with people. We don't want to stay stuck in that 4 of Cups energy. And then bold new starts, led by life, you know, led by what it is that is the most important thing to us now. Yeah. Got that little mouse on that card as well. He's always like, ooh, this is what's happening. I'm never quite sure how to how to read him, but at least he hasn't been burned, you know. He's like looking ahead to the future. And I think that is what we need to do, but like without really knowing, like it's a mouse, you know, he's only got a small perspective, really. You know, sometimes when you're very small, you don't get the full bird. It's not like a bird, you know, which is seeing things from above. You know, you're only getting like a low down perspective. So I think it's just reinforcing what I was saying. It's like we don't know what the end of this journey is going to be yet, but we just need to start on the beginning of it, and we will figure it out as we go along. So yes. So well done, Kate, for starting your business journey. And I hope that those cards resonate with you guys. I will take a photograph of these now and I'll put them into the Discord as well, so that if people want to like print them out for their journals, or, you know, just take note of them as we go through the month to see how they were helpful. And don't forget to check out the horoscopes as well, because you'll be able to get, if you know your rising sign, you'll be able to get like a little mini horoscope for your sign for April as well, which will give you like more details for where your particular, what is happening with you, you know. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me. It's been really fun. I'm gonna hang up now. Oh, what deck was this? Sorry, it's the Ostara Tarot. It's just a mass market deck. And yeah, it's really fun, really cool. Oh, you're welcome, Kate. You're welcome, Emma. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I will, like I say, I'll take a photo and stick it into the Discord if people want to chat about it afterwards. Oh, Michelle's just posted the new moon guide links in Discord. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you. And yeah, we won't be doing it like this next time. We'll be getting our journals out and we'll be doing a bit of journaling together, still talking about the astrology, but we will be getting set up for the month together. I just thought it would be nice, you know, we can all have our own cuppers, we'll get on with it. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. Warmest blessings, and I will see you very soon. Bye.